Tell me, when was Jesus born? Last month of the year. Oh, when was Jesus born? Last month of the year. When was Jesus born?
It's been widely reported that this holiday season, New York City has been the site of a dispute between atheists and Christians about Christmas. If one has reason to travel through the Lincoln Tunnel that connects New York City and New Jersey, on the New Jersey side, one will encounter a billboard sponsored by the American Atheists, which declares, quote, "You know it's a myth. This season, celebrate reason." On the New York City side of the tunnel, one will encounter a billboard sponsored by the Catholic League, which declares, quote, "You know it's real. This season, celebrate Jesus." Now, while there's been a lot of carrying on about this, much of it silly and superficial, the battle of the billboards does implicate a serious question worth exploring. When was Jesus born? What do we know about this, and how do we know it? If, as the Catholic League and many other Christians proclaim, we know that Jesus' birth and the events purported to have surrounded it are real, among the questions one should ask and be able to get answered is, when did it all happen? The New Testament contains two narratives purported to be accounts of Jesus' birth and the events surrounding it, one in the Gospel of Matthew, the other in the Gospel of Luke. The Matthean narrative declares, quote, "The birth of Jesus Christ happened this way." And the author of Luke claims to provide, quote, "an orderly account of events based on careful investigation." However, it doesn't take long to discover problems. As the late great Bible scholar Father Raymond Brown, a believer in Jesus, notes in his excellent comprehensive book, The Birth of the Messiah, quote, "The two narratives are not only different, they are contrary to each other in a number of details. Even worse, the Lucan narrative contradicts itself and contains a number of what we know to be historical inaccuracies. For example, the author of Luke claims that Caesar Augustus ordered an empire-wide census, but as Christian historian Paul L. Meyer of Western Michigan University notes in his The Date of the Nativity and the Chronology of Jesus' Life, quote, "The claim that no non-Christian record exists of a universal Roman census ordered by Augustus is still valid." Dr. Meyer says that this was actually, quote, "a provincial census of non-citizens for purposes of taxation." Father Brown says, with some scholarly understatement, quote, "Close analysis of the infancy narratives makes it unlikely that either account is completely historical." All of this calls into serious question the Catholic League's proclamation that we can and do, quote, "know it's real." The authors of Matthew and Luke both say Jesus was born during the reign of Herod the Great. Now, Herod the Great reigned from 34 BCE until his death in 4 BCE. As Father Brown notes, quote, "According to our best information, Herod died in March or April 4 BC. Matthew suggests that Jesus was born at least 2 years before Herod's death, in about 6 BCE. So the Matthean narrative has Jesus born in 6 BCE. By contrast, the Lucan narrative places Jesus' birth in 6 CE, 12 years later than Matthew. How do we know? The author of Luke tells us that Jesus was born during a census conducted while, quote, "Quirinius was governor of Syria." As Father Brown notes, quote, "Publius Sulpicius Quirinius became governor of Syria in AD 6 and conducted a census of Judea, not of Galilee, in AD 6 to 7. Dr. Meyer says, quote, "The one recorded tenure of Publius Sulpicius Quirinius as governor of Syria and the census he administered in Judea dates to AD 6, a decade after the death of Herod the Great." In addition to the problematic difference of 12 years between Matthew and Luke, the Lucan narrative contradicts itself by placing Jesus' birth both in the days of Herod and 10 years after Herod died. As you think about that irreconcilable difference, remind yourself that the author of Luke claims to have investigated everything carefully. And we're told by Christians that he was writing under the inspiration of an omniscient God. Why didn't the omniscient Christian God let the author of Luke know that Herod was dead 10 years before Quirinius and his census? In any case, this is the mess that the Bible's allegedly careful investigation and divine inspiration have produced. Now, those who worship at the altar of biblical inerrancy have come up with lots of different and often very creative tales designed to make these date problems go away. As I show in my two-part series, Quirinius, Where Art Thou? Link in the description box, such apologetic efforts fail. Matthew and Luke disagree about when Jesus was born, and, worse yet, Luke disagrees with itself. With respect to the historicity of the New Testament, apologists often claim,
we actually have better sources for the life of Jesus of Nazareth than we do for most of the major figures of antiquity.
Once again, here's what these, quote, better sources provide on the question of when Jesus was born. So, when was Jesus born? The only answer we can give is, assuming he was born at all, we don't know when. The Catholic League's assertion to the contrary notwithstanding. Merry Christmas, everyone.